This video contains gratuitous use of profanity and uncomfortable pauses to compensate for lack of professionalism and original thought. Viewer discretion advised.
Coming to you live from a future dystopian nation currently known as the United States, we bring you the Nerdy Manroom show with your host, Hassel and Monster. And Monster, it's been a crazy few weeks.
It is. I'm surprised you went straight there for that opening, though. I mean, I did tell somebody that I'm not very political. I don't get into a lot of that stuff.
Nah.
I don't agree that either of the candidates who were there, let's just say 2 weeks ago, the two candidates that were there, I was like, neither one is equipped for this job. But then when you look and you as soon as you think somebody says it can't get any worse, it got worse.
Dude.
Because now you have one candidate who's not qualified for the job and one who's not qualified for any job anywhere.
Well, it's almost like Vince Russo is riding our nation right now. Like literally in the last 2 weeks, we've had an assassination attempt on a former president. And it resulted in deaths, and so that's no laughing matter there. But it resulted in deaths, and then a Mike Tyson ear. Okay, then immediately the Hulkster decides, "Hey, I'm back in T Daddy," and he's out there tearing his fucking shirt off on screen, back in T Daddy. And the next thing you know, Biden decides all of a sudden, after Jesus himself told him would have to tell him to step down, that he's going to step down. Okay, fair enough. You should have never let this poor guy get as far along as you did, because you can't tell me that you didn't already know this poor guy was not in the state to be doing this. But now the memes are starting to become gold. I seen one this morning. I think I shared one with you guys yesterday where they photoshopped Kamala Harris's head on CM Punk with the Money in the Bank briefcase. Where she's cashing in. Is that one? And then there's another one. The actual Kamala himself, he's got a shirt that says Kamala for President 2024. And it's got the sun and the moon and the stars. And I died. I just feel like, if nothing else, it's, the TV will be horrible the next few months. But the memes should be golden from now to November.
Well, I mean, you went from, let's see who I can compare to. You went from, I'm trying to find a good character for Trump. You went from an adult evil Stewie from Family Guy against Herbert from Family Guy to an adult evil Stewie versus the Joker.
Dude, all she does is laugh. I see there was another actually,
because
and
that's a coping mechanism when you don't know what to say next or what to present. You just start laughing so that.
If Trump was an actual quality candidate and didn't just spit out ridiculous facts that or ridiculous, half truths or whatever he does,
they're facts.
He could shred her to pieces. Her criminal or her record from when she was a criminal DA, whew, like they've proven where she has, withheld evidence. It's kept innocent people locked up. But then again, Biden, back when he was, creating laws that, strongly went against certain portions of the community and targeted, and so our nation is not good at selecting people.
Any person with a half a brain could just ask one question that requires a deep thought. And then just let her answer and see if there's ever actually an answer given. And then so I don't pick on a lot of, I don't get involved in a lot of it. And I say that all the time.
Neither one of them are qualified.
No, but her one of her things, and I saw a clip on YouTube the other day, is how many times she says, we the unburdened by the burden of the. I was like, you said the same thing 5 times, but nobody actually knows what that sentence means. It's like it made no sense at all. You said the same word with in front of it one time, but it makes absolutely zero sense.
I love the fact that picture of her and Montel Jordan and that other lady is now surfacing again. Oh, goodness gracious. So I don't know what Russo has in store for us next. It should be interesting in the next little while.
Yeah, it's yeah. What I'm trying to find that phrase. She says, "What can be unburdened by what has been." I don't get that.
What?
It's like she's trying to say, well, this is what we can do if we forget about the past. Well, guess what? If you forget the past, you're doomed to repeat it, dumbass.
Well, if I had a past as shitty as hers, I'd want to forget it too. I mean, she may have sucked a cock or two.
I'm not even gonna go there because I don't know what she does. That's on her. But I mean, just some of the stuff like when she says that's like, what did that actually mean?
Guys,
It's a roundabout way of answering a question without giving a true answer.
What does the vice president actually do? Does the vice president have real responsibilities?
Yeah, with the Senate and stuff, but it's
okay.
But at the same time, you at least hear what some of these VPs do. She disappeared after year one. After they won, and she said a couple of times, and she says the wrong stuff about immigration and about the border and stuff that the people fact checked her on right there in front of her.
Oh yeah, the Texas lieutenant governor was shredding her just today, I think it was, and said she's not been to the border one time since she's been in office.
But then she disappears, and it's like she said, we have a strong. Like the time she said, we have a strong relationship with North Korea. Since when?
When? like is she Dan Quayle 2.0? Because that's the last one I remember that was just like the biggest joke is VP. I mean, Biden had a little bit of his mind left when Obama was there to keep him on the rails, but you know,
you don't see them very often, but you see some more than others. But like she just disappeared. It's like just keep her hidden in the closet somewhere. We only break her out when it's time to try to go get votes.
And the only thing worse than that was that lady that was the head of the Secret Service. They shredded her yesterday. Oh my God. I saw she needed to be fired, but at the same time, I was like, "Holy cow!" They're just crucifying this lady.
I was in the middle of so much stuff yesterday. I never got a chance to go back and look at it, and I failed to last night when I got home. So I need to look at it and see what happened there because I saw some of that. But
dude, I think I was scrolling TikTok, and there was just like video after video of different people on the council or whatever. She was having a supposed report to. And they was asking her questions. Without the information in front of me, and they were all like, so you mean to tell me you've had 9 days to go through this information, so you don't know it after 9 days, and 2, you show up to an investigation knowing we're going to ask you these questions, and you brought none of this shit. And she go, well, without the information in front of me, I mean, she was like sidestepping everything.
But you know, they're all trained to say that when they get up there. Well, I haven't seen that evidence, or I'm not sure of that instance, or I'm not sure about the one you're speaking of, and I don't have it in front of me. And I'm like, not just them, but I mean, everybody who goes in front of Congress testifies. You watch them, they all use those same catchphrases. And I'm like, I get they're trying to cover their CYA, cover their butts, right?
Oh
yeah. And then I get that they don't answer the questions a lot of times. But what gets me and what would piss me off if I was there is the way that some of those senators start talking down to them. And they scream and yell, and I'm like, dude, if this was a court of law, the judge couldn't just talk to me like that. I mean, they can come down on me, but they can't come down on me like that. So for you to sit there,
your senator from Ohio, he burned her pretty damn good a few times. Like he was the one like, you literally just showed up without your homework. You just showed up after we had to subpoena you.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised. I get that they're a governing body, but you can't throw somebody in jail for clapping back at you and just. I'm surprised there's not more people who are like, shut the fuck up.
They hounded her up. She finally resigned, but you know, it is what it is. Get a chance to go down that rabbit hole. It's a fun little watch. Like after a few minutes, I felt bad for the girl. I was just like, just step down, go retire. You probably got millions in your damn. You probably took millions to turn a blind eye that day, anyways. So let's just go about your business.
Yeah, just move on. Oh, but speaking of going down rabbit holes, why don't we go down to one of Geek Week? And I'll let you go first because I really don't have a whole lot to go over.
Man, I know you don't watch House of the Dragon, but like the last two episodes of House of the Dragon, I have just been like, stop. You had this one like really epic episode 3 episodes ago. Now you got two dragons fighting. I mean, the king gets mauled up. I mean, it's just like, ugh. And then the next 2 episodes is just like, and it's like, it's a setup for like it's a slow burn. But I mean, it's just like 2 hours of this super slow burn. Then you're just like, and these characters, some of these characters I hate worse than the Game of Thrones assholes. There's like very few that's actually like, this is my guy right here, you know. You don't really have those in this world as much. So there's that. Matt Smith, he does a good job at playing the character he plays, but he's starting to show his age a good bit. And he's always had a funny looking face, anyways. You know, with his like eyes and his eyebrows and whatnot. But
got a very big like brow ridge.
Yeah, maybe he's looking to wearing shades like I do. I don't know, but maybe that'll be a better career move for him. But I'm really hoping this week does a little better. I have beyond that, dude, I've got strung out on NCAA 25 football on PlayStation. My God, dude. My wife, she is regretting buying me this game at this point because literally at first day I was there just playing. I was just mauling Florida up. And I just look at her and I done had a couple beers. I was like, them dogs is hell. I do a good play. And I just go, them dogs is hell. And by the end of that game, she was just like, if you say that one more time. And of course, me. So yeah, there's that. I'm kind of strung out on that right now. I really want to play tonight, but I mean, it's Blood and Guts will be on AEW. I do want to see that. That's a pretty good one. That'll be the only good thing about it. Plus, it's Comic-Con preview night. That starts at what, 6 or 8, something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
So I'll be kind of scrolling Instagram and whatnot for that, anyways. But beyond that, as you notice, shaved my mustache off. I had a trimming accident the other day. And anyone that grows facial hair, occasionally, man, how skilled you are, you booger one up. And at that point, there's not a lot of salvaging facial hair. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of like got to one side, and I was like, man, I'm not going to walk around like Vincent Price with, or that Vince McMahon, pencil mustache. So I said, what the hell with it? It's been a long time since I've, done it, but I used to rock the old Big Poppy every now and then. So I shaved my mustache and my soul patch, and I said, I'll just tough it out for about 2 weeks till he comes back. So she was at work. She comes in the door. Holy shit, dude, this was Saturday. We were recording on Wednesday. She is still not over this. Like, she's like, it's like I'm married to a stranger now. I don't know who you are. And I was like, there's literally pictures of me like this. What the hell are you talking about? She said, but I've never seen you in person like this.
But see, that's not fair because you think that in the other direction. If she went and cut her hair and you're like, oh, I don't like that, or you're a stranger now, you would be crucified for that.
Oh, God, yes. That's a double standard that men do not get to abide by. But I was like, baby, it's facial hair. It'll grow back in like 2 weeks. I mean, if that, it's already starting to come out now, but she was like, and then I started messing with her because, Deadpool and Wolverine come out this week. I said, man, maybe I should go ahead and just, thin out in the middle there or something too, give me some good mutton chops to be Wolverine before. And she said, if you do that, I will divorce you. She said, I don't even know who you are. She said, I'm not tempted to go stay at my house. Like I'm staying with a stranger. Like she has been appalled for the last few days.
You should say it now just to do it.
I thought about it. I have thought about it, but I got a feeling
you make promises you don't keep.
I got a feeling I'm gonna get cut off if I do that. There'll be no nookie for hassle.
Yeah, you'll live.
Yeah, I would. She took a picture of me Sunday, and I didn't know it. And she said something she was gonna send it to her date. I was like, okay, whatever. Then she took it and posted this son of a bitch to Facebook last night and drew a mustache and a soul patch on it. She said, I sure do love this man right here. I wish his mustache would return. She made a big post out of it. And of course, all of our friends They loved it. They thought it was the greatest shit ever. So yeah, there's that. And like I said, finishing up Deadpool and Logan tomorrow. But I bought my tickets. I'm ready to go. And I will give you people 2 weeks. 2 weeks. After that, spoiler city.
I haven't bought any tickets yet. I don't know when we're going, if it's Saturday or Sunday. It depends on the kids' work schedule. So, trying to.
Dude, I couldn't tell you the last time I've been to a theater. I know it was some horror movie that me and her went and seen, but it's been some time. So, this will be the first time in quite a while you boys get off his ass and went to the theater. So, I'm pretty pumped about it.
Oh, good. You get out of the house every now and then.
We get out, but
Hey, you know,
not enough. Not enough. I can tell you this. So, how was your geek week?
slow. I mean, my work schedule was flip flopped a little bit last week, going in different times and different schedules and stuff. I will say that the one thing I've really done this, honestly, just geek week related, was I did binge Cobra Kai, the first part of season 6 when it came out. So I think it was season 5 or 6. I can't remember, but whatever the new season
6,
is.
I believe.
Yeah, I think it's what it is. I watched it. It's only 5 episodes, but I mean, they were really good, and I'm curious to see where it ends up at. But other than that, I haven't really done anything else. That's honestly about it. It's been a slow week. It's getting to be an expensive week with stuff coming out. It's like they decided everything that says, "Hey, none of these dates were right." So I know you and I were talking this earlier, but the Tiger Force Tripwire and stuff and Roadblock, those were due July 21st. The Tiger Force Wreckage and Tiger Paw was due on July 21st to come out. I have not seen that one anywhere just yet, but I've gotten that in. And then a few weeks ago, I had gotten a message from Hasbro that Doc was delayed and it wasn't going to be coming out until September.
Really?
That hit last night and shipped today.
I was just going to say, I got Doc, Torch, somebody else in my the Night Creeper are all in my pile of loot right now.
Yeah. Well, Jinx, the Night Creeper, and Torch came out on time. They said Doc was the only one delayed. But it was only delayed on Hasbro, but then they shipped last night or this morning, and then a couple of things for the kids shipped early this week. Like there was so Transformers did a GoBots pack where they repainted some of the
seen those.
Some of the ones that look similar to some of the GoBots, and they put them in a pack together. Well, that wasn't supposed to come out until August, and that's already out and it already arrived at the house. Studio Series Springer was one of the other ones that wasn't supposed to come out till like October, and it's already out. I was like, just everything was hitting at once.
I am truly hoping that they do like they did with my Iron Man, Silver Centurion Iron Man, that still hasn't arrived. I got a processing soon on that. Hell, month and a half ago, I guess it was, and he hadn't showed. So I'm hoping that the Beachhead, the Cobra Eel, and the Snow Serpent that I all have, pre-ordered 2 of, I'm hoping like hell those hold off for a little while. Cause my credit card, it needs me to make a payment or 2 before some more shit comes in.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, see, I Beachhead, the retro Beachhead is actually out at places like Amazon and stuff, but for some of the other stores like Big Bad and even Hasbro are not shipping them yet. Actually, just because I don't keep one of those in package and open one, since I saw it on there and I'm like, it can be here this weekend. I've got points from Amazon. I can save some money. I canceled my pre-order and then from Big Bad and ordered it directly from Amazon and slated to be here by Friday. So I'm like,
yeah, hey. I think I got the emails on those last week. But now I'll say too, I got 2 heads because I do want to open the accurate looking Beachhead because that was always a favorite figure as a kid. The Eel and the Snow Serpent, I just ordered one a piece because they just go on the wall. But because I have both of those figures loose anyway, so I don't need the retro colored one to be loose.
I like the retro packaging better, but I didn't start buying all of them, and then I thought they were canceling, and then they started coming out with them more, but not everybody gets a retro treatment. So I'm like, if I'm just not buying those and keeping them on card. I'm just opening them and putting them out just because I.
Certain ones look better, I like the old school like Duke. He looked so much better in the retro than what we got with that Series 1 version. I wasn't a big fan of that. That was the whole reason I bought Tiger Force. It looked a little better than the Series 1, but I needed a loose Duke, so I had to buy 2 of him. Plus, it was everybody's first Joe back in the day, you know.
You know, I did not have Duke until the original version of Duke for a long time.
Really?
Actually, yeah, I got the one that was the decanimated one where he had the short crop top and had the red and orange camo.
Yeah,
that was the first Duke I had because I just never had. I loved the character; he was my favorite, but I just never.
Some of
got
the first Joes I got were I think I got them like all in a short amount of time. But I got the first version of Duke. I had barbecue and beachhead. That was like my first couple of Joes, and I was focused on Cobra, but that was my main ones. And then I went to Wetsuit and Deep Six. Those were some that, but it was version 2 of Deep Six. It was not. I don't think I ever had version 1. That was kind of a lame figure.
That's the one that didn't have any
like,
extra articulation.
Yeah, he was like metal. He had no articulation. So Daniel had it. I remember Daniel had it, but his toe was busted off. Which was odd to me. Like he had broke the toe off of it, so like he just sunk and water went right into him because he's Deep Six. You got to play with him in water. I mean, shit. I did like the version 2 with the little pink, even though the helmet was pink and he was in a weird green suit.
I had that one too. I had both of them.
That was a cool figure.
I was looking around the other day at some. I was at the toy store and I was like, I never had the original Wild Bill in his colors. I had that one that was the blue and yellow one that was like later on for some subset team, but it wasn't Tiger Force or anything. But I had that one, and then like I didn't have the original Lieutenant Falcon. I had the Night Force and the Sonic Fighters one. I was like, man, I don't remember having the original Falcon, but I had those 2 versions. And which, speaking of, I saw Walmart's Collector Con, which starts off tomorrow, has the Night Force Lieutenant Falcon and some character named Coral, who I think was a later one, in a 2-pack.
Well, I'm pretty thankful that the next set of Monday Night Wars is coming out are pretty much all dud figures. I don't really want any of them, but maybe Diamond Dallas. It would be kind of nice to have the Build-A-Figure Shawn Michaels, Commissioner Michaels or whatever, but I don't have to have that.
Yeah. Well, we've covered those for a while, so why don't we move into our focus topic tonight, sir? And since you picked it, I'm going to let you introduce it and start us off on it.
All right. So we have talked on here before about how DC Zero Hour was very influential on us as kids. It was a very enjoyable story. It was something that we both thought about a lot of. Monsters read it 47 times.
I have the omnibus now.
See, there you go.
I have not cracked it open because that book's like this thick, and I'm like, how do you read
But
that?
it was a soft reboot done the right way on a lot of things. Plus, it was a very cool story. You got Parallax and all this cool shit. So what we thought of, why not let's do a 0 hour now in the current DC state? What will we change? What will we keep? What would be our moving forward from the 0 hour event and heading into the future, so to speak? Kind of a rebooting of the DC universe.
So before we dive into that, one thing to mention too, though, that DC usually has these stories because it all started with Crisis on Infinite Earths. Actually, even Crisis on Multiple Earths, or Earths 1 and 2, when before they even rebooted it all. But that was the thing. It's always Crisis, Dark Crisis, Infinite Crisis, whatever. And everybody's like, well, you did it once with 0 hour. Have you noticed that they've changed all the labeling now? It's 0 hour, A Crisis in Time.
Oh, really?
It's been that way for a few years, and it's just kind of been like under the radar. And like I got to thinking about it, and I looked back and I was like, damn, they did change it. It's actually called Zero. The original was just 0 hour. Now it's actually called 0 hour, Crisis in Time.
Well, thank God I have the OG trade, and it's just 0 fucking hour.
I don't think it says it on the omnibus. I think it just says 0 hour, but all their branding for it is to say that it is a crisis event. Is all they're trying to do.
That's the problem. They had too many crisis events, and it's just lost its meaning.
Well, they're
after a certain time.
They're not having another crisis event, but they're going to do basically because they're always rebooting. They're now going to do a Ultimates version line called Absolute or All In or something like that, and it's the first book that comes out, and it's telling the story. If you flip the book over from one side and read it from one direction, it's telling the story from Darkseid's perspective. From the other side, it's Superman's. But their Ultimate Universe versions of them was like, instead of being, so if you read some of the latest Crisis ones, they say that every universe is powered by a Superman and Superman energy, and that's what gives it that bright heroic nature. This one is powered by dark side energy or dark energy, and every character is a little bit darker. Like the Superman in that world is powerful, but he's not as powerful as the normal Superman. So he has to come up with more creative ways to actually defeat the villains he faces and stuff. And the artwork and stuff on him is eh. But I'm like, I don't really, because they're keeping the regular line of books. I'm like, well, I have no interest in actually going and buying those and reading them, because Ultimate's line was great when it started. It fell apart shortly afterwards. I fear the same thing with this, if this is even as good as Ultimate's to start with, because what I've seen so far,
DC
reboots
not too much for me to invest anything in anything they do. There's no continuity. There's no long-term planning. It's just like, let's just throw shit at the wall. If some of it sticks, we'll ride it out, and then if it don't, we'll just reboot it in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
that's just the unfortunate thing of how they've been. So for my 0 hour reboot, I only have 5 titles moving forward. After this, whatever transpires, or does their reset or whatever, I only have 5 titles moving for the whole DC universe. Because let's face it, you do not need certain characters on the Justice League, which is one of your main focused titles, and them have a solo book as well. Because certain ones just, I don't care. While they're super interesting characters and great in stories, team stories, they're not consistent enough for fucking 24 issues or so, of solo.
So I did not prepare it in that same way as what you have looked at. So here's what I suggest, just to make sure we have plenty enough time. Why don't you go through your 5 books and what you want to do? But after that, let's pick, whether it's the main 7 to 10 books / titles, and what would you do? How would you change? And what would you keep from current continuity? And what would you change? And that's kind of the way, because that's kind of the way I was looking at it, but we can roll through those pretty quickly. So I would just throw those out there.
Yeah, I pretty much just got like what my books are, and just a brief. Okay, in this new reboot, this is how the outline goes, and it's just like a brief thing for each one. So I'll start with Batman. So for my Batman, Azrael is Batman, and this Bruce retired to raise Damian. He's wanting to be a father, not rob his son of what he didn't have, and not have Damian fall too much to the influence of crime fighting and the allure of it, because he's noticing that, Damian is chasing the thrill, so to speak. So they got all the programming out of fucking Azrael to where he is actually a functioning member of society, but he's still a much edgier Batman. Let's just be honest. Tim Drake is his Robin. Alfred is alive.
That's one change I would make from.
You wouldn't?
That's one I would make from current continuity, is have Alfred back again.
Yeah, so that's pretty much, that's my Batman book. I didn't go into who their villains are or anything, because let's face it, you get certain villains you're going to face, and
if you're wanting this to be a long running series, it's going to be over time you're going to see them all. So while you're covering yours, why don't we go ahead and talk? When you hit these characters that you're doing, why don't we go ahead and talk what we would keep or what we wouldn't and stuff like that? Because for me, if I was doing it, I still would always have Bruce as Batman. I get tired of the whole, let's take away his fortune or make him this person, or even this current story and I have not read it, but where they send him out into space. I'm like, what could he see in space?
Bruce still has a presence in my DC universe. He's going to actually, he's a part of another title.
And we can get to that. I would keep him as Batman. I don't know. I would probably go back. I like the idea of the whole Batman Incorporated, not necessarily the way they did it, where it's a Batman in every nation and stuff, but just the Bat family being, funded by Wayne Enterprises, and they're all in their own areas doing stuff. And then you could have stories where you have Bruce and you have Azrael over here, and you could still have Batwing or some of those
Azrael
other
Batman had a lot more legs than what they gave him, man. They just rushed through it. I mean, it was very cool at first, and then they sold a bunch of books, and it was all of a sudden it was like, okay, we got to hurry up and bring Bruce back.
Well,
so I just think it would be pretty cool to have that, at least for like, say, I don't know, 12 to 18 issues, Azrael interacting with the rest of the DC universe as Batman, the Justice League, things of this nature. That's the kind of thing I would like to see explored. And then that gives Bruce time to do his other duties he's doing in the DC universe, as well as slowly decide, you know what, I'm going to take the mantle back.
Well, the one thing,
which is the ultimate end game for all, it's
the
coming.
one thing I will give DC though is they planned out what they were going to do with all their characters when they did their thing. So like it was always planned for Bruce to come back and how long.
Oh,
that would
absolutely.
be. It was always planned for when Clark would be back as Superman and how long that would be. Whereas Marvel, on the other hand, let's do this Clone Saga. It's selling, don't stop. It's selling, don't stop.
There's no brakes
and
on the rape train.
We even had the writer tell us, yeah, hey, we thought we were done after this point. They're like, no, just keep going.
Yeah.
So
if you don't know about it, go view our Howard Mackey episode.
I like the idea of Batman as Bruce, but I would have done something along the lines of the Batman Incorporated and had Batman, and you can have the sidekicks have their own area or be sidekicks to some of them. Like Damian never needs to be on his own. That's a terrible character by himself. Tim's
I
great
toyed
to be
with the
on his own
idea
or with
of
that.
erasing Damian altogether. That was like, I don't know. That was one of what helped me decide that it'd be easier for Bruce to be a father for a little while.
The one I'd erase would be Jason.
Oh God, no.
I'd erase his. Not entirely, but I would erase him coming back. His death meant more when he was dead. When he first came back, it was a cool thing, but now it's kind of like played out. It's like you just have him now to be the smart aleck of the Batman family and the one who kind of goes against the rest of them. What other purpose does he serve?
I like the character. I think they kind of went a little forward in the last few years. I'm not a fan of what they've done in the last few years with him, but he's one of mine.
So what do you have next? And then we'll talk about that same character title.
Superman for me is pretty cut and dry. Superman's in his early 30s. Kal-El with no kids. He's married to Lois. He's only fought Doomsday twice. We ain't got all this other bullshit where he's fought Doomsday 47 times and beat him in 2 panels in 1 book and all this shit. Because in this DC right here, all these crises, New 52 never happened. Anything New 52 owned, that shit didn't happen. Gone. And I cherry picked the rest of what I want to happen.
So I don't have a problem with him taking away some of the fights with Doomsday and stuff like that.
Well, it diminished the character, I felt like.
Yeah, the character of Doomsday, yeah, absolutely. However, I will say, I would not take away Superman's whole Superman family thing because it actually adds a lot of dynamic to some of his books and his current run. I don't have a problem with Superman, Supergirl, Connor Kent, John Kent. I actually like that character. I think that's one of the few that they have come along with and said, hey, we're going to actually make something out of this character. And we're going to make him for lack of a better term, he's going to be kind of a woke character for us to use. But the stories they tell with him are usually pretty good. And it's that supersedes the fact that they tried to make him a woke character. And I'm like,
I'm fine with Connor still being there and Kara, obviously. I mean, there are big portions of the history. But now, when I say no kids, I mean, he doesn't have children, basically. The John character,
I like John. I don't care for the 2 twins they've introduced that they've adopted, which are offshoot Kryptonians and stuff that they got from War, but they're taken care of. But I like John. Actually, I would keep him around. That's just me. What have you got next, though?
My Green Lantern book, this was one that when I started pinning it out, I was surprised it kind of, and I got my juices flowing a little bit, and I started getting excited and wanted to flesh this out, actually. So, Hal Jordan is the only Earth Lantern on Earth. He actually primarily stays on Earth. He helps keep this sector like he's supposed to be. He don't just stay in space all the damn time and all this other trash. John Stewart's running for president. He is retired as a Lantern. He is running for president with Bruce Wayne's backing. And, he's like the link between the super, saying, I'm not sure who he's going to run against. Maybe he's running against Luthor again. I don't know. But John's running for president. Guy is pretty much like the head dude on Oa. He's right on the Guardians. He stays there, which is, he runs the show. He's the one that they don't even talk to the Guardians much. He's the buffer between all the others. And Kyle has he is Guy's lieutenant. He stays in space. He does what they try to make Hal do. Because I told him the idea of having him retire too and be like an artist for a while, but I was like, I really like Kyle. I think him and Guy do a good buddy cop deal too, a lot of times. So I can feel that. This was a twist though. Kilowog's missing. They don't know who's got him, what happened to him, why he's missing. He's just missing. But he's possessed by parallax. I couldn't remember the red entity's name. I thought about that for a while. Like, what about the red entity? Like he has all this rage inside of him before he lost his family. And then I was like, I don't know, it'd be kind of cool to explore parallax and Kilowog. Like they think he's missing, and he's actually off plotting shit.
They've never, other than him being tough on folks as the drill sergeant, they've never really portrayed him as being very rageful though. So that might be a stretch with him being the red.
But that's kind of what I decided. Parallax, everybody has fear, even the willful Green Lanterns. We all fall prey to fear. So I don't know. I feel like that's a book I'd actually wouldn't mind fleshing out a little bit.
So I kind of like some of that. I'd keep a lot of the Green Lantern history and what they've been through, but I would have, for me, I'd look at how I would look at it as different cop versions, different partner versions of what's going on with them as cops. Basically like a crime drama, but different areas. Like I'd put Hal and John on Earth. I'm not big on necessarily on the superheroes running for office and stuff, just because at some point, how does that not become you guys are just trying to work your way in so that you can dominate everything? And I don't know. I feel like that takes them a little too far into being in control of everything. And for them to be a hero, you've got to be willing to not be necessarily the person in charge all the time.
Well, the problem I have with the Green Lanterns is, and I get it as a core, but you have just way too many Earth ones, and it's hard to pick between. I love something about each one of them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, that's why I would have Hal and John on Earth and being, the superheroes. Maybe one of them's in the league and the other is not, but doing working around the rest of the world most of the time. I like the idea of Guy and John or Kyle and Guy in space as the buddy cop type. Hey, we're
good cop, bad cop deal.
Yeah, and that's a book you can do long running if you alternate. 1 month it's about this group, and you don't have to buy every issue. 1 month it's about this group, 1 month is about this couple, but I would keep the other Earth Lanterns. They have Simon, Jessica, and Joe. And what I would do with them is that because the Green Lanterns are supposed to be more like cops, and there's not a lot of investigation and stuff they do. And the character Joe was actually an Earth detective. So I would have her be training Simon and Jessica to be more detective-like versus more superhero-like. I will say
Simon Baz is one of the few interesting characters they kind of got right in that world of post New 52.
Well, I would take him and Jessica and have them training with her to be more of the investigative type unit of the Green Lantern Corps, and just kind of build that up a little bit, have them off investigating mysteries and other planets and stuff like that. But I would have them doing that. Guy and Kyle are kind of the beat cop buddy over here that they're the 21 Jump Street or whatever you want to call it over here that you're watching, and then John and Hal are on Earth being the superheroes out of the group, and that's kind of the way I would play it out. But
definitely a reader. That's a page turner.
So what do you have up next?
You can't have a DC universe without the Justice League. So for my Justice League, I have Superman, obviously. You got to have the Trinity, but I got Superman, Azrael, Batman, because I've always wanted to see how he would interact in a Justice League in a book. Wonder Woman, Flash, Barry Allen, Aquaman, Hawkgirl, and this is my twister, Spartan from Wildcats. But here's the twist. So at some point in time when all this kind of happened, and I hadn't fleshed out who it would be, but something happened. Spartan got yanked from the Wildcat verse. John Jones got yanked from the DC verse. They done that swapperoo that Marvel and DC toyed with, decades back. The idea of it, anyways, and never actually went through with it. So they actually do the swap. And I'm thinking, maybe Hellspawn come too, and then maybe one villain from the DC verse shot over to the Wildcat verse and whatnot. I know at multiple times they've been part of the DC universe, and then they pull back. they kind of go back and forth, but
Yeah,
he's
they
part of the
currently
team.
are.
Oh, they say I wasn't sure. I know.
Well, I know in New 52, there was a whole storyline where it was Hellspawn trying to get to Superman because of the Kryptonians or whatever.
Yeah, but they didn't even follow through with that. It's like you got a couple of issues that was like it just vanished off.
No, but
like
even
Grifter,
even before
was a
that,
part.
you had Majestic and Superman swap places for a little while. You had Captain Atom go over to the Wildstorm universe for a good little bit for like a 12-issue maxi series.
Those were actually good runs, but they made them out like they were separate universes back then.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I'm going with there. Though it's a different universe. So it's like Spartan went from being the leader of basically his universe as Justice League to, being their own, the Justice League.
Yeah.
I always thought he was a cool character in it with some legs under him. I mean,
I liked him out of all of them.
Yeah, I mean, they brought Grifter, so why not, do something the character could actually stand his ground,
If I was doing a League book, I would go with my main 7, and I would, I'm a fan of having your major ones in there, having your Aquaman, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, and I like your classic ones, and I'm wishy-washy on whether it be Barry Allen or Wally West. I'm fine with either one of them because they work. I think if you go with Wally, it's better to bring in Kyle as your Green Lantern. If you go with Barry, then you're better off with Hal or John. Yeah,
and he was very tempted to have that basic, the big 7 that is iconic. But I was just like, I just feel like it'd be more challenging as a writer with this group I got right here. But it would also be a fun dynamic between some of the characters.
Yeah. I think you grab your big 7 and then you grab like maybe 3 others who have been in the league or close enough to the league. But the ones that I could see that would be interesting to me in the storylines, okay, well, let's swap out a few people. Like they're trying to push the Titans right now as a new big team because they're more of a family union. And I'm like, all right, I get it, but at the same time, I'd rather have the league. But if I was going to swap some people out, I would take Batman out and have Nightwing in his place because he's a little bit more level-headed of a leader. He's got more respect from some of the others because Bruce pisses him off more regularly. I think he could be a good leader with the team. I do like having Martian Manhunter there because he's like the soul of the team to me. He's like the one who was always around, so I feel like you have to have him. And if you, in your case, I get what you're doing. You're swapping them out, but I feel like if you're not doing that, then you have to have Martian Manhunter. Like all the people who
that's kind of like going to be a sub story, so to speak, or a sub thread throughout the first, say 24 issues, trying to figure out who the hell done this and where is John, because they won't, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. The
rest of the team, they acknowledge, hey, our friend's gone. We want to know where the hell he's at. And we want to find him. And then Spartan on one hand, he's like, I'll help you here until I can get home.
And I like the idea of having at least 10 members of the team, and then because you can bring some in.
That's definitely a book you can get away with it with.
You're going to have X-Men. You're going to have big stories going on in other books too, where you have to pull the character. Like Superman can't be in every single issue because this is going on over here. If you're keeping track of your books. But for my other 3 to add to the team, I think Firestorm would definitely be one of them because I think he gets overlooked. And like the classic cartoons, but he's training with the league and they're like teaching him how to be a hero, and he's got all this power, and they're also kind of keeping an eye on him. I like that, but I think that goes really well if you swap out Batman for Nightwing, and Nightwing's kind of his mentor on the team as well.
That would actually be a fun little back and forth between those two.
I like Firestorm for that. I'm trying to think of who else I would use because
Firestorm and Captain Marvel were both two that I was like very tempted to put in there, and I was like, you know what? Maybe like for an issue here or there or something like that,
Yeah. I like Firestorm. I think I'll be honest, I really liked, and a lot of people may hate this, but Plastic Man, because he was the comedic relief of the team, but he was so powerful and so useful to whatever they did.
I like what Grant Morrison done with him. I've never liked his outfit. Actually, I could probably get behind the character a lot more if they revamped his outfit that one time, and it actually looked pretty decent. But then they keep going back to that terrible leotard with the strings and the.
I'm all right with that. It makes sense for him because he's a wacky character anyway.
I hate it. I can deal with the glasses. I can't deal with that.
And I think after that, you have to have some kind of permanent tech support on the team. And I feel like if you're going to go, because like Batman's not always there. When he's there, he does the tech. But I'm swapping him out for Nightwing anyway. So I feel like you got to have somebody, either a Ted Core Blue Beetle or Mr. Terrific. My only problem with Mr.
That's
Terrific
who I
is
was
he's
just
so
saying.
close to Martian Manhunter for kind of filling that certain slot on the team that
Yeah.
it's kind of hard. But I would probably go with Ted Cord just to have it a little bit more. Okay, we've got somebody a little more grand because Mr. Terrific, as good as he is, I'll say feels that he has that same kind of feeling to him as a Martian Manhunter. So I'm like,
Kind of bland.
Yeah.
Or monotone. That's more not I don't want to say bland because he's actually a very passionate character. He can be very monotone sometimes.
Yeah, and it all depends on who's writing it, but that's kind of the things I would do. So what else do you have there?
So for my final book, as much as I was tempted to go with Titans, like I told you between Titans and Teen Titans, and I settled on the Outsiders. So, the Justice League, that's your poster boy book. That's your team book that, they go out there and do all the highfalutin, world type stuff. The Outsiders is the team that gets its hands dirty. No, they do not Black Ops. We don't do the killing and the X-Force crap. But they do get their hands dirty and do the things that the Justice
They're the
League
more
can't go do.
paramilitary type force.
Yes, and they are funded by Bruce Wayne. It's pretty much what little superhero ties he still tries, because he's not even back in the league. It's not that he's not backing them, he's not funding the league. He's funding the Outsiders. This way, if something ever happens and it gets out, the Justice can't fall back on the Justice League. So, as the leader of the group, the guy you shit all over earlier, the Red Hood, I got Black Canary, Metamorpho, the Eradicator, and he's got the OG human look. He's not that robotic looking shits. Red Tornado, Nubia, yeah, you drug that one out of the archives, and Black Canary.
Yeah, I would have went with Artemis instead of Nubia, but
I went with my Nubian princess.
So I don't have a lot of comeback to that one, but what I will say is that I've thought in the past, you build so much in DC on legacy or teams, why would you not have a whole? You could do a whole lot. Don't get me wrong, you're always going to have Superman and Batman. You're probably going to have Green Lantern and Flash books, singular individual heroes. But why don't you have a group of? Why don't you have different legacy titles that are teams? And what you can do in that is take this out and play it. Okay, so Justice Society, just to use for example, I go Justice Society. All right, that's my older team, my more classics, very classic one. Well, I got Green Lantern Alan Scott for a Green Lantern. I got Power Girl. I got Jay Garrick for a Flash. Let's go to Justice League next. That's your premier team, and it's the more modern version of Justice Society. So Barry Allen Flash, Superman, Hal Jordan Green Lantern. Now let's go to the next level down and say, all right, how about you have a more military style group, kind of like what you're talking about? So you could say, okay, we'll call this the Outsiders, and let's have Guy Gardner Green Lantern because he's a little more of a loose cannon. Let's have, for Superman's sake, let's say, why not take Supergirl because she's a lot more angry, or somebody, right? But you could keep doing that, and you can go all the way down to, you can have a Titans team, a Teen Titans. And you could just keep saying, okay, they all have. So if you had the big 7 people, what's the legacy version of each one of those in here? And you could go a little bit further than the big 7 because you could say, okay, Green Arrow family, Green Arrow, Black Canary, Connor Hawk, Green Arrow, Arsenal, Speedy, Mia Dearden. You got Arrowette from Young Justice. You got enough that you could say, okay, we could have Justice Society, Justice League, Titans, Teen Titans. So you have a team for every age that people want to read.
Arsenal was one that was I told you about putting on this team because like him and Jason are fun when they're in the same book. But I don't know. My thought process is kind of like, so the whole reason Bruce chose Jason to lead this because I was like, damn, I hate to have a DC universe and I'm basically leaving Nightwing out. But I was thinking, you know what? What if Bruce puts Jason in this predicament here to be the leader? And have to try to hope that it reels him back in and kind of does a course correction for the character. And then Jason's rough around the edges, I bet. At the same time, maybe this, and then, have Bruce there kind of mentored him, like, look, okay, I'm not going to hold your hand, but, kind of be a father to him a little bit, something that Jason always lacked. And really try to mold him back up, and kind of be more of a redemption arc over the course of, like, say, 24 issues.
That's a fair point. I think after hearing all of yours, though, the only one that and there's other characters we could talk about where they be and what we do. And I think the biggest other one for me though would be having something to do with the Flash. And I'm a huge Flash fan, but Flash has so many side stories because it feeds into what the rest of the universe is doing typically because he's kind of everywhere. But how would you do Flash?
Well, see, the whole reason I just had him as a character on Justice League is he is someone that just, to me, doesn't support a monthly title. He has some really great stories. They've kind of overused him in the last, say, 10 years or so with all this Flashpoint crap and just made him ridiculous. I'd take him back to his basics if I were going to do a solo Flash title. Have him focusing on crime and whatnot in his Central City or whatever it is. Maybe try to work on his relationship between him and Wally. You could kind of have, I don't know if I'd saddle Wally down with a whole family or not, but
the wife, I wasn't too big on the kids for him. His was
well, I mean, the wife
far.
is fine, but when you start having kids and whatnot, I don't know. You run into some characters who works really well, but everybody, you don't want to be watching Reed Richards, the friendly dad, in all your superhero books.
Yeah.
It's an escape from reality. You're wanting to forget that you have children sometimes. I mean, we love them to death, but sometimes you want to turn a few pages and forget, hey, I'm a father and I have to do all these things too. So I don't want that with my Flash, and especially with Wally, because Wally is such a carefree, fun character. So I think you could have if you were to have both of them in the Flash title, that could be a pretty fun, like trying to top one another, but at the same time, Barry being reasonable and calculated, while Wally's like, oh shit, I didn't take that into consideration.
So I would probably maybe not instead of having just a Flash title, maybe it would be titled Flash, but I would do it like they used to in the 70s and 80s with Flash, where it was Flash for part of the story and then another character. Excuse me. For the
that would be something you could do that would be kind of fun, stories. Or maybe have a monthly title that kind of like Marvel Comics Presents, but be DC Comics Presents. Yeah. And maybe you do a 6-issue arc on one character, and then you change to another character like Aquaman. Aquaman supports great, storylines here or there, but let's face it, how many damn Piranha people do you want to watch him battle each month?
So if we did something like that, I would be fine with doing that, but I would have Flash, because I think he's one character that can support every month, and have it be Wally West, have a Flash story, and then it's only so long, so you can carry him out. Now, I would say instead of having a whole family, maybe a wife, but then have Impulse being back from the future, and it's like, okay, Wally, your job is to train him. He's your kid Flash, and it's like, okay, for a carefree spirit who's an everyman, it's like, I don't know how to raise this damn kid, and he's already half grown, so it's him with a teenager. It's like, that's an interesting dynamic to watch, because you could have great hero stories, but you could have great hero stories. You could have great moments of idiots.
Well, plus those two very impulsive characters, because like it's almost like two children. Bart is a child, but Wally is a grown child, so it's like the two of them. It's like you can just see them getting into this bigger matches with one another.
Yeah,
just be like, and Wally be like, "Hey, I'm the adult here. I'm telling you what to do." No, you're not.
It'd be like, just them sitting there like, oh, we need to take care of this. And then Bart goes and takes apart this machine or something. He's like, what are you doing? Why would you do that? And, you could just watch. It's like, you told me to. You could just watch the chemistry there. Because it's like Homer. Be a fun book, actually. It's like Homer and Bart Simpson when they get along.
Alan Scott was one that was very hard to leave off, too. I almost put him in my Justice League.
I'll get to him in a second, but I would say in the rest of this book, I would do backup stories that, like, this would be like a Marvel Comics Present, but Flash is in every issue, but then backup stories, okay, maybe it's the Atom for a 10-issue run or 7-issue run, and then it's an Aquaman one, but Red Tornado, so you can keep cycling through different characters, so they're not gone and forgotten. They just may not be in the main titles, but I think you could sell an anthology, but and it would have a higher price, and maybe it's a $5.99 book instead of a $3.99 because it's got more pages to suit the stories. But since you brought up Alan Scott, I love Alan Scott because I love all the Green Lantern stuff, and he was the first one. But this absolute power storyline they're doing where they lose their powers and stuff, and what they did with him and this is like, I can't.
So what travesty has befallen him now?
So the whole thing is they're trying to say that he is the strongest Green Lantern ever, and I'm like, okay, I get that they're all strong, but they said, well, as the Amazo robot is draining all their powers, taking all the superior's powers away, that Alan feels his draining away and just wills his power to come back to him. I'm like, why are we trying to make him that much stronger when we've got John, who created his own Green Lantern ring now. Hal has created one like 3 or 4 times at this point. Stop trying to overpower them all. Yeah.
I just seen that you sent me. Holy cow!
Yeah. I'm not in for that, but I like Alan Scott. Don't get me wrong, and I think he's a great Green Lantern. But for them to say that he's the most willful one because he took his power back, I'm like, he also internalized his power years ago. His power doesn't really come from his ring; it's a focus for it now. Hal has created the ring and stuff, and I'm not sure how you supposedly depowered him and took his ring during this whole story, because I'm like, he created it. It only works for him. What are you doing?
Yeah. Well, okay. Is Alan still, I guess, no longer closet in this version of DC universe?
Yes. Yeah.
So that's the real reason why they're wanting to make him now into the most powerful one, to push that.
Quite possibly. I tried to avoid that, but that's probably what it is. But I like Alan Scott, and I'm like, just stop destroying old characters.
That's my thing. Like our friend Chris Daly does Fueled by Weird. Me and him were talking the other day, and that was one of the things we were discussing was like, when create new characters, we're fine. You can make all the homosexual characters you want, or whatever, lesbian, so forth and so on.
LGBTQ plus, I'm fine with. Don't do it to an older character who's been around.
Well, they've done it with him. They've done it with Iceman. You just, when you take the legacy of these 80-year-old characters,
that's the problem. Is the legacy. It's not that. If you want to do that with a character who's brand new or a character who just hasn't had that much backstory, okay, fine. I mean, you could take
John Kent that's no problem.
Case.
He's bisexual.
There was no backstory to say one way or the other. There's not 20 years of legacy. There's not 50 years. There's not 80 years of stories of how he was then. Well, we got to change it now. That's my problem.
Let's be honest. In our comments, we don't have to have a huge focus on their love life, anyways.
No.
I mean, that's one of the things that's where you kind of fall down the rabbit trail. I mean, like certain characters like Spider-Man, or where his personal life is a lot of what he was trying to juggle, and his personal life being trash because of it. Okay, I get it. But all of your characters aren't that way, and it shouldn't all be that way. So
no, but
we don't have to know that this character.
Let's use him for example, though. If you want to say that, well, we need a Spider-Man that's like that. This LGBTQ community. Okay,
you just created Spider-Boy. We don't know shit about him. There you go.
Well, not even that. Take someone else who only has so much history. You could turn around and make Ben Reilly bisexual. That's not going to change that much.
You could not.
His love life had nothing to do with his story arc other than Jane Goodby, and that's it.
You cannot. We're not going there. You're not doing my boy Ben this way. You're not doing Ben or Kyle this way. Now, there was another wayward son that we don't know nothing about that somehow survived.
Cain.
I just said Cain was not being done that way. Another wayward son. Spider-Side can be as homosexual as they come.
Peter has history with Gwen and Mary Jane that supersedes anything changing it. Honestly, Ben had Jane Goodby, but that was the only relationship he had. A lot of that time he talked about he was alone. Who's to say he didn't decide something different? Cain has no relationships because he hides in the sewers 90% of the time.
But they all have Peter's imprints and memories. I mean, they have that love for Mary Jane and Gwen. So,
and that's an argument you can make, but at the same time, you can take other characters, like when they made Batwoman when she came out, and they made her lesbian. Okay, fine.
No problem.
Cool.
No problem.
North Star had been around for years before they announced it for him for Alpha Flight, and he's been one of the first ones. But I don't have a problem with that because he didn't have a lot of backstory. He was just really created to be a character in Wolverine's backstory, and then he got his own stories. That's cool. I mean, there's characters who have been around for a while, but they've never hinted at what their relationships are. Jubilee from X-Men. Who would care what she did? She's been around forever. There's no real love life backstory for her. So what's the problem when using somebody like her? Why use Iceman, who's had multiple girlfriends? And multiple books for
That's
60 years.
Alan Scott. I mean, the fact they try to make it all he was closet, he was scared, and also he just decided to go have a family and children and all this good stuff. And I get it. I guess that does happen to some people. I feel for you. Don't put it in my comics. I don't want. I go to comics to escape the real world.
That's one big thing is yes, trying to get to that. But we've been here for a while, so we need to move into Nerd Out. So for anybody who hasn't been here before, this is the part of the show where we ask random questions about the topics of the day. We respond with little to no prep time to each other. We'd love to hear your responses as well. So if you want to share those in the comments, please feel free to share that or expand upon one of ours if you want to. Or you can rant about our conversation just a minute ago if you really want to do that. Again, we're not against any of that. It's just how it's used in stories. But we would love to hear any of your comments in the comments section below. So, Hassel, Nerd Out. Do you have a question prepared for today?
I actually do.
All right.
Thought this one through.
Mine is going to be shorter, so let's do mine first so we have time to go through
All right, let's go.
So I asked this very simple question: What franchise reboot would you feel is the most well executed one out of any that they've done?
Ooh. DC and Marvel, or just DC?
Any.
You know what I wanted to say when it did the Green Lantern Rebirth. When they brought Hal back, and then what they started building after that, where when Ethan Van Sciver was doing the art, and Johns was writing, they put all the right blocks in place from Hal's Rebirth on, and man, that was 5 years maybe where that book was just gold, all the way up until it was 52. Hell, it wound up being like 3 or 4 titles by then, but I mean, they were all good titles. That's probably the best executed one I can't remember in a very long time. See, Casey, I don't always shit on DC.
So your answer was very close to mine. I mean, not the same vein, same book, but the idea of the soft reboot, right? This is not a Crisis on Infinite Earths changing everything for us. This was a soft reboot that actually made a book more impactful and more important for many, many years. And I said Giant Size X-Men.
Ooh, I did.
When you brought in the international version of the X-Men and went forward, that was a game changer for them and continued to be for a very, very, very long time.
Well, it actually brought diversity to the book about diversity. Well, initially, that's what the title was. I mean, mutants was their way of battling diversity and prejudice and stuff like this of this nature. But you had there in the army, there was all Xavier had. He didn't have any actual diversity, so that introduced it to the team, and that was actually a really great. That was a really good one, man. You thought that through Monster as well.
Yeah. So what do you have for a question this week?
Okay, so since we were doing our DC universe, we pretty well know what our sandbox is for our DC universe now. So, what 3 alternate versions of Marvel 616 reality characters would you have plucked out, a la what we did with Spartan, and put into that's this new DC world? And when I say alternate versions, I mean like kind of like how like Joe Fixit ain't the Hulk, or Ben Reilly isn't Spider-Man, so forth and so on.
So repeat the actual question again, just because I heard most of that, but I missed the very first part of it. How many?
What 3 alternate versions of the characters? What would you pluck from the Marvel universe, the 616 verse, into this DC sandbox we just created?
I think it would be interesting to pluck Frank Castle and drop him in Gotham to have to deal with Azrael. I know we've seen it in a crossover before, but for a long run between those two, if Azrael is going to be your Batman and he's not a crazed killer like Frank is, that would be an interesting look. Man, what else? Who else would I take? This one would just be one just for a short run, but I would like to see how Quicksilver interacts with Wally West.
That could be fun.
Those two trying to deal with each other would have to be interesting in some way.
Would Quicksilver tap into the Speed Force at some point, or where he just heckled the hell out of Barry and Wally at the like, oh, you need a Speed Force? This is just me.
But he can say that, but they're still way faster than he is. Like he's barely broken the speed of sound at his top speed, and they're like breaking the speed of light and time and everything.
But doesn't that make him more interesting to you, honestly? Like they've almost overpowered the Flashes in years past.
I think if you use the Flashes in a way where they have to think of what they're doing with their speed, they're not just running. And I mean, you can't run into every problem with an infinite mass punch. I mean, if you're doing that, you're not trying.
Well, it's the DC verse. For whatever reason, they do seem like everybody has to have a higher power level there than maybe in the Marvel verse.
That's fair. And I think for the third one, I don't know why, but I want to see. I'd like to see Hobgoblin as an enemy as a Batman rogue.
God, he could have that could be very interesting. Hobgoblin in Gotham.
I'd like to see him go against Bruce and Dick as Nightwing and maybe Tim. I don't really want to see him versus Azrael. For some reason but the other three it fits for some reason for me.
That would be fun. That could be real fun because like I could see him like kingpinning up most all the Rogues Gallery, but him and Joker are gonna come into confrontation at some point.
Yeah,
that would be fun. Damn, Monster, you got me wanting to read that now.
So what about for you? What would you have?
So because I'm a Spider-Man nerd, I would like to see Ben Reilly in the DC verse because like I just said, DC everybody seems overpowered there sometimes. So that would be one place where a Spider-Man that can sometimes be moralist, not quite Kane version, but he can sometimes tweak his morals. Wouldn't have to pull his punches as much. And I'm catching up on Spider-Man now. So I mean, like when Spider-Man was injected with all Norman Osborn's sins, seeing a Spider-Man not pulling his punches and not trying to, be as cautious, I guess, scary. Yeah. So Ben Reilly over there, that could be fun. I would like to see the Maestro in the DC universe.
That would be interesting.
Like, not just jump in and start reacting. I'd like to see him be like, say he got there and then he hid in the shadows for say 2 years to get a feel. Because I mean, the Maestro's calculating, he's thoughtful, he's very intelligent. What if he got there for 2 years and was kind of like playing from the shadows before he decided to make his play? It could be money, dude.
That could be.
Yeah. And beyond that, I don't know why I'm looking at my shelf here like I'm going to have some epiphany come out at me. Lastly, what about Captain America?
I thought about that for a minute, and I was like, I'm not sure how I don't know how it fits.
But from the time frame when he was U.S. agent, like he's plucked from that poor time frame of his life.
Okay. Maybe.
But what city? I mean, you almost have to throw him into. I don't know. I wouldn't mind seeing him in Central City for a while. I mean, he's gonna be everywhere. Don't get me wrong. No, actually, I changed it. I'm gonna scratch that. Winter Soldier. I want to see Winter Soldier over there. He's dark enough. He blends well better
there. That'd be interesting. It's kind of, I think you run into the same thing as like what I was saying about having Punisher there. Is it's kind of you're gonna bump up against some of those folks that how do you deal with them? And it's gonna be interesting to see that.
I could see a really good fight between Winter Soldier and Bruce.
That would be interesting.
But there you have it.
Well, and there you have another whole episode completed. So it's time for us to get out of here. But before we do, Hassel, tell everybody where they can find us at.
You can find us on Instagram at the Nerdy Manroom Show. You can find us on Facebook at Hazel Hutchison via the Nerdy Manroom Show. You can find us on Twitter at the.nerdymr Show. You can find us on Spotlight Media via our sponsor, the Zone Collectibles. On Roku, we're on Fire TV, Spotlight Media, and app. There's an app out there, people. Go download it.
Yeah. After you do that, make sure you go check out some of our extended Nerdy Manroom family members like Big Rob. You can find him on his channel of Big Rob's House of Entertainment and No Chinese Food.
No Chinese Food.
Where you can catch all his fun toy unboxings and toy hunts and Canon films. I know we spoke about the other day. We said the name and he did
spoke it into existence.
It's like Joe Henry. He chose
a good one too. Over the top, man.
Yeah, he did. But after you check out Big Rob, make sure you go check out our sponsors. We want to give a big thank you to These Own Collectibles. You can find them on their internet at theseowncollectibles@gmail.com and on Facebook at These Own Collectibles or in their store at 305 Main Street, Tifton, Georgia. Visit them for all your nerdy needs. Help them support the local artist community by supporting their cause of bringing unity through community. I can't speak today, apparently. Bringing unity through community. Fandoms unite. And stick around in the end credits. You'll see some of our other friends and extended family members, and you can check out some of their sites there. But with that, I think it's time for us to get out of here, Hassel. So let's tell everybody they can join us here next time. We'll talk about our retrospective on SDCC 2024. Until then, live nerdy all the way until the 0 hour.